What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Main Event Review. Thank you very much for tuning into this week's episode. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be a standalone episode or link into, Matt's Raw review or weekend review, but otherwise, it's good to be here and sort of review the three matches that happened on Main Event this week. Again, not too much going on in terms of sort of main show updates. We obviously have Night of Champions fast approaching, but next week is going to be a match between Gunther and Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship, and Sami Zayn is going to be the guest referee for that. So that is going to be interesting to see what Sami Zayn does and how he, gets himself involved with the WWE Championship. Now, I think that this iteration of Sami Zayn's character being the last real good guy and, being supportive of his ride and die fans, is decent. Again, we've all had enough of, Sami Zayn's babyface underdog character. So having this is pretty cool. What I will say is that I think it's going to be really good to see him potentially win the Money in the Bank. I think based on how he's been going about, like how WWE's been going with him, I think that he's probably best suited to win the Money in the Bank at this point. But a lot can happen from now to September. And, what happens here really depends on if he can get it or not. If he just falls short once again, I definitely think he'll be in contention with, getting a Money in the Bank briefcase and potentially cashing in on whoever the WWE champion is and winning it the, quote unquote, unethical way. But for now, Sami Zayn will be the guest referee. And I'm interested to see what he will do. Will he be sort of the good guy and, ref the game fairly or the match? Or will he find a way to screw Cody Rhodes over and hand Gunther the title? And I think that's the question on everyone's sort of mind. And that's where sort of this storyline and situation is gone at the moment. In other news, sort of Trick Williams and Carmella Hayes and Ricky Saints are feuding with each other. So we may see a triple threat for the United States title. Julia, who we'll talk about and we'll save, has turned on Kiana James, so we'll save that for that. And it looks like Charlotte Flair is pretty much about to win the Queen of the Ring there too. And I think Obafemi now, to me, is the hot favorite. The fact that he's going up against Dom Mysterio in the semi-final pretty much for me convinces me that he's going to, win the King of the Ring tournament. Like, I don't know who else can potentially get near him. Like Jey Uso beats LA Knight, beats Royce Keys, beats Finn Balor in that fatal four-way. And, he goes up against his next opponent, which I'm pretty sure is going to be Javon Evans. So if you look at that sort of card, Javon Evans, Jey Uso, Obafemi, Rey Mysterio, who do you think is going to win? Let's be honest. I'm pretty sure we all know the answer to that. So Obafemi is probably going to have a date with Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. And, on the other side, Charlotte Flair is probably having a date with Rhea Ripley. Because if the Raw side is winning that bracket, then we have to safely assume that the SmackDown side will win the women's bracket of the Night of Champions. So that's where we're looking at the moment. Things could change. Maybe Jey Uso somehow wins it and ends up challenging Roman Reigns. I doubt it, but just something to look out for there. But I think Jey Uso winning, I sort of get why. But at the same time, I'm thinking you want to sort of make it less obvious that it's going to be Obafemi here. So, yeah, I'm a bit sort of confused as to what that is. Maybe, Dom Mysterio might actually beat Obafemi because he sort of hyped himself up for the match because Brock Lesnar gets involved. But that's the only way I can see Obafemi not losing. Or not winning is if Brock Lesnar comes in and gets involved into this match. But anyways, that's pretty much all we have for latest updates. But we'll go straight into main event. We start with Julia taking on Jordynne Grace. This was in Italy. The other two were filmed in France, I'm pretty sure, based on sort of the crowd and what I've got here as well. But Julia defeats Jordynne Grace. And it makes sense. Julia obviously has a bit of an Italian background. So it makes sense that she won this match, and it looks like she is going to be a babyface going forward. She mentioned to Kiana James she doesn't need her anymore. She's speaking English a lot better. So that means she's able to do a lot more things. She's able to talk on the mic and give a lot more sort of personal thoughts to the fans so she can connect with them. So I don't mind this change. I did like the dynamic of Kiana James and Julia, but it is true that it did more for Kiana than it did for Julia. It didn't really do much for her. It made sense why they paired together in the first place, but I think Julia needs to move on from Kiana James and forge her own path, because she was definitely someone that came out of NXT as a really big superstar. So, now having an opportunity to just be herself and, be a solo star without any help could do dividends and could pay a lot of dividends. So let's see how that run goes. It will probably start with, defeating Kiana James and moving past her. And as for Jordynne Grace, again, back on Main Event, not doing too much. So we have to safely assume that she'll continue to be on Main Event and maybe potentially, go for a US title. Like, that's all I can really see for Jordynne Grace at the moment. It might be worth her probably changing brands to sort of see what she can do on that side. But otherwise, she continues to do what she continues to do. And then we go to the second match, which is Rayo Americano taking on NXT star Dorian Van Dukes. Pretty sure that's how they say it, Van Du or Van Dukes. He is obviously from Belgium, and not obviously, he is from Belgium, and he's obviously an NXT superstar. And again, we get to see how he goes as well. Looked pretty solid in the ring. Was, the babyface in this match. But definitely made sense that Rayo Americano got the victory again. Once again, we got to see Dorian Van Du in the ring and looked really good. For those that are following on NXT, will probably know more about him than I do. But from what I saw in terms of in-ring ability, really good. And I think that's what we'll see on Main Event, and that's why they get the opportunity to showcase that. But we can't really tell how good they're going to be unless they're on the microphone. And unfortunately, Main Event doesn't give us the opportunity to see that. So this is all we could really see from Dorian Van Du here. But otherwise, he does get to showcase himself, but Rayo Americano gets the victory there. And then we have Roxanne Perez taking on Maxine Dupree. So Maxine Dupree, they still haven't given us more from what's happening with her and, Austin Theory. Obviously, there are some teasers that she's going to turn heel. I'm waiting for that. It's going to get the Alpha Academy more involved in sort of storyline. And potentially, get her some more heat that probably she needs, because she had some really hot heat for as a face, but maybe she can get some, heel heat here, being with Austin Theory, and maybe be the first Paul Heyman girl. That would be another interesting thing. That would be something really cool. So watch that space. As for Raquel and Roxanne, or Roxanne specifically, Raquel was ringside. You can tell that she's slowly having tension with the Judgment Day, which means that she either goes all the way through this for the next 3 months, wins Money in the Bank, because she's also a heavy favorite for that, turns on Liv Morgan, or she turns on her earlier and again forges her own path and becomes a babyface like Julia, and takes her game to the next level, because she's someone that's also come out of NXT as a really good superstar, and she's also really, really young as well. So something that is up her sleeve is her age. So she's got a lot of opportunity to just, grow and prove herself. And maybe this little feud with Liv Morgan, the tensions between the Judgment Day, can potentially steer this on, because, Liv Morgan is not really getting on with anyone from the Judgment Day. It feels as though it's her and Dom take on the rest. And, that's not sitting well with Raquel Rodriguez, and sort of not sitting well with Roxanne Perez, who, remember, came into the Judgment Day because of Finn Balor. It wasn't because of Liv Morgan. Liv Morgan was injured there. So that's something to, consider. But, we'll be continuing to follow that up and, continuing to review main events as we conclude another episode today. We managed to hit the 10-minute mark on this episode. So that's good signs. Hopefully we can pick that up as we sort of preview Night of Champions, which, is it this week? I think it's the week after. But, other than that, the World Cup is on. And, a lot of you guys are US fans. You would have saw that Australia defeated Turkey and you guys defeated Paraguay, for those that care about soccer. But we're going to be versing each other this Saturday for me and Friday night for you guys. And I'm really excited to watch that match. I'm pretty sure whoever wins that will probably top the group. So there's all to play for here. And, there's a bit of little rivalry between the two teams as well, because, we're both nations that don't have soccer as our number one sport. But I think when it comes to the world stage, we all want to get behind our country, and that's what we're really good at, both countries. So, yeah, keen to see how that goes, off topic, off wrestling. But, we'll move it back to guess wrestling and closing this episode out with, a thank you for getting in and having a listen to this episode. And, I'll catch you guys next week. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.